Ghosts got you down? Graveling's a grave concern? Not to worry, folks, because you're in the right place. This guide will have you back on your feet and butt-kicking for goodness in no time. I am Kethas, you are looking mighty handsome today, and this is Ascalonian Catacombs Explorable Mode. Ascalonian Catacombs is located in the Plains of Ashford, the Char starter area. You'll need to be level 30 or higher for Story Mode, and 35 or higher for Explorable. After the events of Story Mode, various vermin have slithered up from beneath the catacombs, and much like a fantasy world janitor, it's your job to clean them out. It's the first dungeon you're likely to experience in Guild Wars 2, so ArenaNet made it an easy, casual introduction to... No, I couldn't keep a straight face either. To be blunt, AC's a mess. Story Mode is a big jump in difficulty from generic level, and Explorable is a big jump from story. You've got DPS races, mechanics that one-shot you if you screw up, a char with particularly dubious voice acting. There we go. Get
I had
out.
scouts drop off the parts I needed to build the traps, but I have to build them myself.
Still, it's nothing that a well-prepared group of players can't handle. And that's why you're watching this guide, you clever devil you. There are 3 paths you can take. Hodgins wants to collect some flaming scepters and take out the Howling King, some kind of giant super grave.
Good as new.
Melandru, show me the way.
It shouldn't explode, at least.
Don't forget
That's good enough, right?
Detha wants to lure out and kill another one, the Ghost Eater. I'll give you 3 guesses what it spits out at you during its fight. Finally, the Asura Tzark wants to kill a 3rd threat, Colossus Rumblus, before it takes the entire catacombs down.
Excellent choice. Undeath essence awaits.
Do you hear
To the
that?
lover's crypt.
Sounds like... Damn it! Another graveling mound.
No matter which path you pick, the first half of the dungeon is shared between the 3, before splitting off into their own sections. Don't worry, we'll cover everything. One final note before we get things started. This should be obvious, but just in case, there might be some teensy-weensy spoilers while we're walking through all 3 paths of the entire dungeon. If that's a big deal for you, no problem, but you might want to stop watching now. No, I mean like, right now. Snape kills Trinity with Rosebud. Hey, you were warned. Before we get started on the actual instance, let's cover some more general stuff. First, buy decent gear. As of this writing, you can get Masterwork, so green, gear for pretty much any level and slot for maybe a few copper more than vendor cost. After eventually selling my gear back, I paid maybe 20 copper for a full level 35 Masterwork set. Don't show up to the instance and hope the other 4 players can carry you. I promise you'll waste more time and aggravation on wipes than the 5 minutes it would take you to properly upgrade yourself from the trading post. This is particularly true on Hodgins' and Tzark's paths, which include pretty serious DPS checks. Second, if you haven't leveled that far beyond 35, or if you're playing with several people that haven't done AC Explorable before, try to come to the instance with some unspent skill points. That way you can spend them to patch up problems in your group. Guardian being bad at putting down light fields, buy a condition removal skill to compensate. Group failing a DPS check, slot a damaging skill to push through. Everything going just fine? Try out that elite skill you've been eyeing. Third, get on voice chat. That probably sounds like overkill for a starter dungeon, but AC is not your granddad's loot pinata. Party combat in Guild Wars 2 is chaotic, and it's great being able to easily communicate in real time. Besides, particularly this close to launch, you'll need to explain mechanics to party members, and you'll do a much better job talking back and forth about it than typing out abbreviated one-liners. Check the description, I'll include links to some free server hosting services if you don't have access to one through your guild. Fourth, switch up your weapons and slot skills, constantly. You aren't locked into a single spec or build at all. It takes 2 clicks to switch a slot skill. Want to avoid melee on a boss? Be sure you're using 2 ranged weapons and slot some ranged or kiting skills. Have a DPS race? Slot accordingly and blaze past him. Need something tankier? Put on a shield. If you aren't constantly switching out skills, you're passing up on some free versatility. Finally, As a rule, if someone's down, the most important thing for the entire party is to get them back up as soon as possible. If instead someone actually dies, stop bothering. It takes way longer to revive a dead player. At that point, if you're still in combat, it's not worth it, and they can run back. Now, onto the fun part, shall we? The first thing you'll encounter on any AC Explorable run is a single Graveling breeder. Not exactly a challenging fight, but there's still something to notice here. When it rears up on its hind legs like this, it's casting something, and you can interrupt it. It's not a big deal here, but you'll see plenty of Gravelings throughout the instance, and all the ones that matter have abilities that can be interrupted like this. Finish off the breeder, go through the Priory camp, and pick an explorable path. If your group's new, I'd suggest Detha's route. There's no serious DPS check, and the hardest part, the fight with the waves of Ascalonian ghosts near the end, can be completed piecemeal. A wild Graveling burrow appears. Just like the breeder, it's hardly a real fight, but we'll be seeing more of these burrows when they do matter, and we can learn some stuff here. First, everyone should stack on the burrow. That makes it easier to AE all the Gravelings in the burrow itself. Second, if you're using a melee weapon, you might have noticed that it'll sometimes bug out and miss if you're attacking a large world object, like a burrow or wall trap. Here, you can see me missing a gargoyle head. I find that if you keep moving, you miss much less. This is really important later, as 2 DPS races involve killing burrows. Clean up the burrow and navigate the next trap room by hugging the left wall. You can actually sneak past both traps even while they're up, as you see here. At the end, jump onto the pillar, don't take the stairs down, they're trapped too. This next room is where we're going to fight our first boss, the Spider Queen. There are 3 threats here: hatchlings, wall traps, and the Queen herself. We want to kill them in that order. Hatchlings are the biggest problem. A couple waves will spawn in as we progress through the room, and another will show up along the Spider Queen. They don't have a lot of health, but there's a lot of them, and they spam a ranged attack that deals terrible, terrible damage. Clean up one wave, trigger the next, repeat. If you have projectile reflecting abilities, this is a great place to use them. The hatchling's high damage, rapid firing rate, and low health means they'll quite cheerfully kill themselves for you. Second are the wall traps. There are 4 in the room, 2 flanking the stairway exit near you, and 2 flanking the far doorway. If you get too close, about 15 feet, they'll start shooting fireballs that do minor damage and inflict burning. Unlike the traps in the previous corridor, these actually aim right for you, as you can see happening here. They aren't as big a deal as the hatchlings, but you should still clean them up. They die easily, and the Spider Queen isn't much of a threat either. That brings us to the lady herself. Once you clear out her room, she's actually not that bad. She has a melee attack and will periodically spit poison bolts in a cone, but neither do all that much damage. She also drops poison zones, 3 at a time, but these don't seem to be aimed at specific players. Standing in one will deal damage over time as well as stack a poison condition on you. Standing in multiple zones hurts even more. Don't do it. Try to avoid getting too close to the far doorway during the fight. At best, you can add the Graveling pack that patrols the hallway. At worst, I've been in a group that actually added the troll mini-boss. We'll cover him later. Clear her room of hatchlings and wall traps, run away if you're hurt, whittle down her health, and you'll emerge victorious. One last note on the Spider Queen. The explorable mode of Ascalonian Catacombs has at least 2 DPS races that you'll see later, so it'd be nice to be able to judge the DPS of a given group. Guild Wars 2 doesn't have damage meter add-ons, but it does have giant punching bags with fixed health, like Our Lady of Arachnophobia here. While making this video, I ran with 4 different parties. Counting from when she spawns to when she dies, we took from just over 3 minutes to just under 7 minutes to kill her. If your group kills her in under 4 minutes, hey, you're doing great, and the instance should be pretty smooth for you. If you take around 5 minutes, you're probably still fine. If you take longer, something's going wrong, and you're probably going to have trouble later on in the instance, particularly on Hodgins' or Tzark's path. I'd suggest pausing your group here for a second and figuring out what you can improve. After the Spider Queen, there's a pack of Gravelings patrolling the next hallway that we want to pull back to this room. We're going to see a lot of Gravelings through the rest of the instance, so we may as well cover the various types now. Public enemy number 1 is the Graveling Scavenger. Right as you engage it, and periodically afterward, it'll channel a pounce attack, knock down anyone it hits for several seconds, and then chew on you for massive damage. Do not get hit by the pounce. In any Graveling group with a Scavenger, forget everything else and kill it first. This is how you'll die on Graveling packs. Interrupt their pre-pounce channel if at all possible. After any Scavengers are dead, we want to kill Breeders. They periodically rear up on their hind legs, channel, and start spewing out Graveling hatchlings. This sounds like a big deal, but hatchlings die really easily, and your party's probably already doing mostly area damage. It helps to clump up so the hatchlings group up as well for AE. Interrupt the summon if you can, but don't worry if you can't. Did I mention the hatchlings die really easily? Next on the list are Graveling Stalkers. In theory, they burrow around and evade attacks, but only rarely. You can see here that this Stalker's not really doing much of anything. Besides, I'm totally okay with an enemy that crowd controls itself. You can essentially pretend these are regular Gravelings. Our lowest priority is killing Graveling Howlers. They can scream to knock back in a cone, but they don't use this ability very often. Also, like Breeders, they'll rear up on their hind legs and channel, but instead of summoning adds, Howlers apply stacks of might to nearby Gravelings. Again, this sounds like a big deal, but it really isn't. Scavengers are already plenty dangerous, and their pounce attacks will probably down you with or without might. The other Gravelings don't really do that much damage. Also, Howlers kind of crowd control themselves like Stalkers. Every second it spends channeling might or screaming, it isn't actually attacking your party. Back to that Graveling pack in the hallway. You've got 2 Scavengers, a Breeder, and a Super Howler with Unshakable. It's worth noting that effects blocked by Unshakable, Knockback for example, can still interrupt any channels the creature's casting. Zerg the Scavengers, interrupt or avoid the pounces, kill the Breeder, then finish off the Howler. You're now looking at a trapped corridor. You're trying to make it to the far end and pull some chains to the left of the exit, which will disable most, but not all of the spike traps. Don't stop to revive people down by traps, you'll just be downed too. Get to the top, pull the chains, then go back. If your group's having trouble here, swiftness helps a lot, as does spreading out a bit so one set of traps doesn't down multiple party members. Pull the chains, clear out the wall traps, and you'll find yourself at Lieutenant Kohler, the second boss and your first real challenge. Parties doing Hodgins' route technically don't need to kill him, but you'll want to anyway, both to unlock the Foefire's heart waypoint in the middle of the map, and for the Ascalonian tears in his loot chest. You're going to want to fight Kohler down here, around these pillars, for reasons that'll be apparent shortly. To pull him, have someone with a single target range attack hit Kohler and not his adds, then make like a tree and get the heck out of there. Kohler will follow down the stairs. His 2 adds will come most of the way down, but then leash and return to their posts. If Kohler leashes as well, your puller probably didn't actually damage him. Just try again. Kohler has exactly one ability you care about. Ace it and the fight is trivial, even boring. Screw it up, and you're looking at heftier parallels. Every 10 to 15 seconds, he'll pause, raise his sword, and channel for roughly a second. You can see it here, and here, and here. Right as he finishes channeling, dodge. Alternatively, you can just break line of sight during his channel, or use Aegis to block the attack. He'll throw grappling hooks out towards everyone within roughly 30 feet. If you dodged or broke line of sight correctly, you're fine and can resume DPS. If not, you'll be grappled to him. He then whirls, doing massive damage to anyone in melee range and applying poison, cripple, and vulnerability. You'll probably be downed. If you are grappled to him, mash your dodge button. You might be able to avoid some ticks of his whirl. He uses his grapple ability rarely enough, and telegraphs it enough, that with practice you should be able to dodge it reliably. Congratulations! You've now mastered the Lieutenant Kohler encounter. Just try to keep him crippled or immobilized, he has no other ranged abilities, and auto-attack your way to victory. Don't forget to head up the stairs afterward to finish off the 2 Ascalonian ghost adds, tag the waypoint, and nab your hard-earned loot. We have one last enemy to discuss before we start on the specific paths. There's a troll bonus boss that can randomly spawn at certain locations in the dungeon. I've seen him spawn right after the Spider Queen, right before Lieutenant Kohler, at the west end of the bridge west of Foefire's Heart, and in the north end of the giant cave in the northeast. He isn't much of a boss, he's slow, only uses melee attacks, and is easy to kite with cripple or immobilize. His only special attack is a ground slam that he telegraphs pretty clearly, just keep your distance and you'll be fine. I haven't explained why I giggle like a schoolgirl whenever he spawns though. If you drag the troll near Lieutenant Kohler, and maybe other enemies, I haven't tested it, they will fight each other for your amusement. It's the best thing ever. 2 boss fights become 0 boss fights. Even if you don't need the help with Kohler, it still saves time. Just keep avoiding Kohler's grapple attack, watch the 2 whittle each other down, and congratulate the victor with, well, with murder. You're a violent person. At this point, the 3 explorable paths split. We'll start with Hodgins' path first. If you're on a different one, click one of the links and check yours out instead. Hodgins' path is the moderate difficulty option. It has a DPS race, but it's not as bad as the one on Tzark's path, and the final boss is easier than the one on Tzark's path as well. On this path, we'll zerg through a burrow killing event, search a large cave for scepter fragments while clearing out graveling patrols, and finally kill the Howling King in the depths of the catacombs. Let's get started. Head south from where you killed Lieutenant Kohler, and you'll find a stairwell lined with fire-breathing wall traps. It's hard to see from the top of the stairs, but the traps are actually firing in sequence. Just start running as soon as you see the first trap trigger. That'll be the one at the top. The person that Hodgins is currently following around should continue running beyond the base of the stairs. I've seen Hodgins get down on the stairs from the flame traps, and he's a pain to revive there. This next room contains our first event. If you have new players in your group and want to run through the strategy at your own pace, you can run in, have Hodgins trigger the event, run back to the room at the base of the stairs, and let Hodgins die. You can now explore the room without constantly stepping over gravelings. The basic idea is we start off with 2 burrows active, destroying a burrow activates a new one, and you beat the event by destroying your 6th burrow. There's a trick we can do to make our lives easier though. Each of the 2 starting burrows belongs to a chain of 3. Destroying the last burrow in the chain doesn't spawn a replacement. Our strategy will be to kill all 3 burrows in one chain as soon as possible, so we can cut the graveling spawn rate in half more quickly. Split your party into 3 people on offense and 2 people on defense. Offense's job is to blitz burrows in a specific order as quickly as possible. They should also stack directly on top of burrows and try to get some damage in on any larger gravelings that spawn, like stalkers or breeders. I find this helps keep them attacking offense, not defense, and offense is better suited to handle large gravelings. Defense will help blitz the very first burrow, but once that's down, their job is to protect Hodgins. If they have spare time, and they probably won't, but that's fine, they can help burn down whatever burrow is nearest. Start the fight with everyone stacking here, where one of the first burrows will spawn. We're blitzing this one because if we're quick, we can destroy it before it spawns a breeder. The other starting burrow only spawns hatchlings, which are easy to deal with. The breeder seems to take a variable amount of time to spawn. I've had it show up after anywhere from 2 seconds to 8 seconds. Once the first burrow is destroyed, defense falls back to protect Hodgins, while offense heads farther southwest to take out the newly spawned burrow. If you have a gap closer like Leap of Faith here, you can use it to travel between burrows more quickly. Once the second burrow is destroyed, offense needs to head clear across the room to the newly spawned burrow. This is a good place for swiftness. After destroying the third burrow, you're now down to 1 active burrow at a time. Switch to the nearby hatchling-only burrow. When the 5th burrow spawns, 2 graveling scavengers come with it. This is the hardest part of the event. With the constant spawns, you simply don't have time to kill them. Offense needs to clear out the 5th burrow without being destroyed by the scavengers, cross the room, and beat the event by destroying the 6th burrow. Defense needs to, well, not die. If you're having trouble, remember that burrows don't take condition damage, so professions focused on conditions should try to switch to direct damage as much as possible. Using swiftness appropriately also helps a lot. Finally, anyone with a melee weapon needs to be sure they're moving constantly, to avoid the bug where some melee attacks from stationary characters simply miss swirled objects like burrows. Once you do finish the event, congratulations! This is definitely the hardest part of Hodgins' path. Grab your loot from the chest and head into the secret room Hodgins opens up. The first scepter is in a sarcophagus at the top of a short climb inside. Once you've nabbed that, head back to Fofire's heart. I'd suggest using the waypoint instead of trying to navigate the flame-trapped stairwell in reverse, and head west. From here, make your way northwest past some graveling trash to this room. Hodgins will complain that this scepter is missing, and send you, his heroes and/or errand boys, to collect fragments from the next room.
It's not here. Just a broken piece. Those wretched graveling scavengers must have taken it.
It's comforting, knowing that Hodgins hates scavengers as much as I do. You'll find yourself in a large cave with numerous patrolling graveling packs. Scattered throughout are 5 scepter fragments that you need to collect. There's a lot of gravelings to clear out, but you've seen everything here before. Try to avoid pulling multiple packs at a time, but other than that, this room is pretty easy. Once you have all the fragments, head back to Hodgins, and then back the way you came originally. A new passage has opened up, allowing you into the caves beneath the catacombs. You'll need to make your way past flame traps and more gravelings to the large open area in the far west, but just like in the Scepter Fragment Cave, you know how to deal with all of these now. The Howling King patrols around the floor of his cave. You'll want to pull some of the other gravelings back towards the entrance to clear an area to fight in. Once you have, it's time for the last boss. He has 3 abilities. First, he'll periodically burrow for a few seconds, optionally travel a short distance in a straight line, then pop out of the ground, dealing damage and knocking back anyone caught in the radius. Just pay attention whenever he burrows, it's not that hard to avoid. Second, like a breeder, he'll occasionally stand up on his hind legs, flail madly, and start spawning adds. Unlike a breeder, he can actually spawn bigger stuff like stalkers and howlers. You want to interrupt this quickly. Clear out whatever adds you do let through before resuming DPS on the boss. Finally, the Howling King will live up to his name and scream, dealing damage and knocking back in a cone, like the smaller Graveling Howler. It has a distinct animation from the summoning channel, but it's very quick, so realistically, you should just try to stay away from its front as much as possible instead of trying to move reactively. To make things worse, there's no fixed sequence between summons and screams. He can do either immediately after popping up. The cone covers about 90 degrees. You can see here that I take only 1 tick, blocked by Aegis, despite spending longer forward of his center line. Avoid the scream, interrupt the summon if you can, clear out adds, and you'll depose the Howling King in no time. Congratulations! Grab your hard-earned rewards, but I hope you're still hungry for more, because next, we're giving Detha a tour of Ghost Town. Detha's path is definitely the easiest of the 3, so if your group's new to Ascalonian Catacombs, you might want to run this first as a shakedown cruise before the other routes. It's free of DPS races, has by far the easiest final boss, and its hardest section, the Waves of Ascalonian Ghosts, doesn't reset if you wipe. On this path, we'll skewer huge waves of gravelings with spike traps, guard Detha as she sets up mortars, and then blow the Ghost Eater to smithereens. Cross the bridge east from Fofire's heart. There will be some traps to avoid, and then a handful of patrolling gravelings. You only need to kill the ones that patrol farthest south. The other pack will never get close enough to block your route. You can also skip the gravelings entirely, but anyone that dies and runs back will have to pay attention to avoid aggroing them. Either way, continue south, clear out 2 sets of spider hatchlings, avoid 1 last floor trap, and enter the spike trap events room. Detha will automatically trigger it as she approaches the sunken pedestal to the east, so if you want to talk strategy, you should wait in the middle of the room. In this event, waves of gravelings will spawn near the room's entrance and head towards Detha. Your job is to survive long enough for a giant graveling breeder to spawn and then kill it, all while keeping Detha alive. To help, the floor here is rigged with 5 partially overlapping spike traps, triggered by sets of chains in the east end of the room. There's a pair of chains on each platform to the north and south of the pedestal, and a final chain on the pedestal itself, for 5 chains and corresponding traps total. We have 3 jobs to divvy up between party members. 2 players will be full-time chain pullers, 1 each for the north and south pairs. If you pull one chain, run to the other, pull it, and run back, you can arrive just as its cooldown is refreshing. Try not to get dizzy. As the fight goes on, a few gravelings might get past the players in front, we'll cover them later, and reach the chain pullers. Try to ignore them and keep pulling chains as long as you can, particularly if it's just a hatchling or 2. Eventually, though, you might need to jump down and bring your adds to the middle of the room, where other players, and hopefully other spike traps, can help clear them out. The chain pullers can't simply go on autopilot the entire fight either. If there's some downtime, or if the gravelings have moved away from the area your traps cover, help out with range attacks instead. Anything that deals area damage or can apply cripple or immobilize is particularly nice. A third party member handles the central chain on the pedestal. Unlike the folks handling 2 chains, he'll have plenty of spare time, so equip ranged weapons and spam away. Again, area damage and movement impairing conditions are preferable. If my calculations are correct, there should be 2 folks left. You guys are the bait. Wait in the middle of the spike traps and choose as many defensive weapon and slot skills as you can. Your job is to get the attention of the graveling waves as they approach you, and then keep them positioned on top of the spike traps, while dancing around wildly trying to survive. Be sure to hit an area damage ability occasionally too. That'll tag all the graveling hatchlings for you, and they're basically free rallies for when you're down. That only works a few times before your down penalty stacks too high and you're simply killed instantly though. Nothing really changes once the giant breeder makes its appearance. Chain pullers keep triggering traps, and the tanks still get its attention and then try to survive. Just like a regular breeder, this one summons hatchlings. Try to interrupt it. The event also has a second completion requirement to kill a certain amount of gravelings, but you don't need to focus on it. You'll trivially kill enough by the time the breeder dies. Don't forget to loot the chest that spawns at the west end of the room once the event's clear, but afterward head back to the central Foefire's Heart waypoint and then head north. You'll need to clear out some graveling packs, and then head up the left or right stairs. You can pick either, the routes are equivalent. Kill the oozes, pull the chain to open up the gate, and you'll be at the hardest part of Detha's path, guarding her, or not, but more on that later, while she sets up 3 mortars. When Detha gets to the center of the room, she'll chat it up with an Ascalonian captain for a bit, and then move to the first mortar. Each time she begins repairing a mortar, whether from starting on a new one or being revived and resuming repairs, a wave of 4 ghosts will spawn. These ghosts come in 6 flavors: monks, rangers, necromancers, elementalists, mesmers, and warriors. Monks heal other ghosts for about 20% of their health, and if left to their own devices will get roughly 2 heals off before you kill a given target. We'll kill these first. Rangers don't heal, but they do tons of damage, have a ranged knockback, arrows that apply poison, and toss out nasty ground-targeted traps with little warning. We'll kill these second. Necromancers place giant puddles of death on the ground pretty frequently, and also apply entire sets of conditions at a time. Elementalists deal strong range damage. They also cast a meteor shower, but it's less of a concern. I like to kill the Necros first because I like being able to move freely and don't like having my condition removal skill be on cooldown. Some groups prefer focusing Elementalists because of their higher direct damage. Really, if you've already killed all the monks and rangers, you're probably fine doing either, as long as the party is focus firing the same target. Mesmers have a short duration daze, and will periodically put up a pink bubble that reflects projectiles. They come after Necros and Elementalists, mostly because they're less of a threat, but also because with the projectile reflecting bubble, it would take longer to burn them down anyway. Lastly, we have Warriors. They have a short duration stun, and self-heal for about 20% of their health, like the monks heal. That's pretty much it though. They don't do much damage, and since they're melee, they can be kited with Cripple, Immobilize, and good situational awareness. We'll leave these guys for last. If Detha finishes repairing her current mortar while there are still ghosts up, she'll join the fight. Never revive her mid-combat though. Besides it just being a bad use of your time in general, remember when I said that new waves spawn when Detha begins or resumes repairs? I'm not 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure I've been in a group that revived Detha mid-combat only to have an additional wave spawn. Like the waves of mass spider hatchlings in the Spider Queen's room, this is a fantastic place for projectile reflecting abilities. They can lock down the rangers and elementalists, which are two of the biggest threats. When those are on cooldown, you can break line of sight using the pillars in the room, or by kiting back outside. If your group's having trouble, kiting out of the room is actually a pretty good idea. The ghosts can pursue and leash differently, and any ghosts that stick around to kill Detha usually don't pursue you once she's down, giving you the chance to fight part of a wave at a time. Keep clearing out ghost waves and guarding and reviving Detha until she finishes work on the third mortar. If there are still ghosts up when the third mortar is repaired, they'll despawn. At this point you've got just one boss left, if you can call him that. The Ghost Eater is an exciting and dynamic encounter filled with exciting and dynamic mechanics. We're gonna punch him until candy comes out. He's by far the easiest of the three final bosses, and as if that weren't enough, you have Detha's three mortars to help you out. Although they end up not being all that useful, as you'll see shortly. The Ghost Eater has two abilities. Like the Howling King and Colossus Rumblus, he burrows and pops up, knocking you back and dealing damage. Unlike the other end bosses, he doesn't have a frontal scream, so positioning is less of an issue. For his second ability, he periodically summons in waves of ectoplasmic oozes, which are basically regular oozes, except white, translucent, and pacifist. They'll mostly ignore you unless you're down, in which case nearby oozes will make their way over and start attacking you, but they don't even do that reliably, as you can see here. Their most annoying ability is the small poison cloud they leave when they die, so you really have no reason to pay the oozes attention, let alone kill them. During the fight, players can use Detha's three mortars to fire off shots that deal minor damage and inflict a specific condition in an area. There's an explosive mortar that applies burning, a shock mortar that applies vulnerability and weakness, and a frost mortar that applies chill. The problem is that the mortars deal much less damage than a player could on their own, and the projectiles travel quite slowly, so the shots are hard to aim. Chilled in particular seems like a valuable condition to apply, but the Ghost Eater deals so little damage that you simply don't need it, making the mortar cost you one player's DPS for little gain. I'd suggest ignoring them completely and just attacking normally. Poke at him for long enough and the Ghost Eater will have his fill eventually. If you thought Detha's path was easy, don't worry. We still have the fun one.
A good trap works any day. Wait until Hodgins and Tzark find out about this.
Tzark's path is AC Explorable Hard Mode. We'll face a burrow-killing DPS race where, unlike on Hodgins' path, we can't control the burrow spawns. Get a breather in the form of, well, more burrows and gravelings in the large northern cave, and then fight Colossus Rumblus, the most difficult end boss of the three. On the plus side, the hardest part of the path, the DPS race, comes early on. If your group simply lacks the damage and coordination to get past it, which will have been hinted at by your kill time on the Spider Queen, you won't need to clear all the instances to find out. Follow the path you took for Detha's route, but instead of continuing south past the spider hatchlings to the spike trap room, turn east and head to the Lover's Crypt. A wave of Ascalonian ghosts will spawn as you enter the passage, an elementalist, a necromancer, a mesmer, and a warrior. Instead of charging into the hallway where the Necro's puddles of doom will destroy you, break line of sight at the entrance to draw them out. Otherwise, they're the same ghosts we saw on Detha's path. Kill either the Elementalist or the Necromancer first, while trying to kite the Mesmer and Warrior. Once they're clear, head into the crypt. This essence collecting event is the hardest part of Tzark's path. If you can beat it, you can beat the instance. Tzark will set up essence collectors on each of the 2 raised platforms. Once that's done, a burrow will spawn, and new burrows will keep spawning every roughly 12 to 15 seconds, whether or not you've destroyed the previous one. The goal is to protect at least one of the collectors long enough for Tzark to collect all the essence he needs, roughly 5 minutes, while keeping the gravelings at bay. If a collector is damaged by gravelings but then left alone for about 8 seconds, it'll start to heal itself. If one of the collectors is destroyed, it's gone for good, and from that point on the collection will take about 50% longer. Like with the Spike Trap event, we'll assign party members to specific jobs. 3 people will be assigned to blitzing burrows. Their job is simply to destroy one burrow as quickly as possible, move to the nearest one, and repeat until the event's over. Don't get distracted by clearing out gravelings. By leaving burrows up for longer, you're just trading gravelings now for more gravelings later. It's also a huge problem if these 3 players get split up. One person, and only one, should be assigned to call targets on burrows. We'll also assign 2 people to defend the collectors, 1 per platform. Their job is to clear out any gravelings that get past the burrow blitzing team, and later in the fight there will be a lot of them. If one collector is destroyed, that player can shift to the other platform. If they have any downtime, likely early in the fight, they can help out offense, or just poke at the nearest burrow if offense is too far away. Have the entire party start here, where the first burrow spawns. The burrows seem to have fixed spawn locations. The second spawns here, directly opposite the first. The third spawns here, up the western platform. The fourth spawns here on the east platform. And the fifth spawns here in the southwest. At this point you're likely to have multiple burrows up, so just destroy whichever's closest. If you're having trouble, remember that like the Hodgins event, party buffs and gap closing abilities can be really helpful here. Unlike the Hodgins event, most of the burrows are pretty close together, so swiftness, while still helpful, is less of a concern. Also, burrows are still immune to condition damage, so professions that rely on it are better off on defense. Finally, make sure the entire party knows you can interrupt breeders. If they're left alone, they can bring in a lot of hatchlings, and unlike most of the instance, here you won't be clumped up well to easily AE them. It's also worth mentioning that while being down level does eliminate some of the advantage of being higher level, a group with at least a couple higher level characters will probably have an easier time, because of a combination of higher stats and better access to utility and elite skills. Hang on for long enough and Tzark will finally get enough of that blasted essence he's so obsessed about. One costume change later, head north through the spider-infested room to the second event. I like hugging the left wall. Honestly, after the essence collection ordeal, this event's kind of a letdown. 4 burrows will spawn and spit out some defenders, but after that they just sit there and wait for you to kill them. No reinforcements here. You know how to kill gravelings, and you certainly know how to kill burrows. This room shouldn't pose much of a challenge. If your group is having trouble dealing with an entire graveling pack at a time, you can run in, ignore the gravelings, blitz the burrow itself, and then run out. The gravelings won't pursue very far. Clear out the burrows, remember to grab the chest, and Tzark will offer to blast open a path for you.
My resonance cascader will dislodge the rocks blocking the graveling tunnels.
Wow. I bet you thought you'd never see a resonance cascader, let alone employ one. Head into the newly opened tunnel and go to the large cave where you fight the Howling King on Hodgins' path. Fortunately, the route's shorter this time, so you have less trash to fight through. Clear out a space to fight in, and then it's just you and Colossus Rumblus. This guy has 4 abilities. Like the Howling King and the Ghost Eater, he'll periodically burrow and pop out, dealing damage and knocking back. It's just as easy to avoid here as it was in those 2 fights. For his second ability, he'll do the Graveling Breeder's Flail Wildly animation, and then channel, causing rocks to crash down from the ceiling in a huge area. You actually don't want to interrupt this. The rocks are easy to avoid, so time he spends channeling this is basically free damage or time to revive party members. His third ability is a Pounce and Chew, like Scavengers do. But unlike with Graveling Scavengers, your party is likely already safely spread out. Just dodge it if you can, and revive the targeted guy if he's downed. His final ability, and the one you actually care about, is a frontal scream that deals tons of damage and applies confusion, like the Howling King's ability. What makes this scream worse, and Colossus Rumblus arguably the hardest final boss of the three, is that instead of a 90-degree cone, this scream hits pretty much anyone even slightly in front of him, as you can see here. Yes, Radak. Yes, it is. Fortunately, there's a trick that can help you avoid it. Unlike the Howling King, who seems to use his abilities at random, Colossus Rumblus follows a strict order. After popping up from each burrow, he channels his rockfall, then screams. Burrow, rocks, scream. Burrow, rocks, scream. Additionally, he seems to stop turning for a couple seconds right before the scream. So if you're paying attention and aren't too far from him, you should have time to get behind him. Really, if your group could finish the Essence Collection event and get this far, you don't need to worry. Soon enough, Colossus Rumblus will rumble no more, and the Durman Priory can get on with its research in peace. How considerate of you.
Grateful for your help. Let us rejoin the front lines to repel the invaders. Look for me there, brave soldiers. I would be glad to have you fighting by my side in the coming battles.
If you're new to Ascalonian Catacombs, I hope this guide helps you avoid a few painful wipes. If not, I hope you learn some new tricks that'll make your future runs faster and smoother. Thanks for watching. I hope I'll see you next time for Calicus's Manor, but until then, feast your eyes on this skin tone. Cannonball!
Anyway, be proud. Today, you furthered the bounds of science.